What's up, everyone? I am Ryan Friend from Dusty.us. Liam, we are back
We're back
after a
again.
month, and we have the sloth with us. We are finally top tier caliber guests here. This is great. We have a lot to talk about, and obviously, we have someone great to talk about it with. So this is going to be really cool. NAF, how are you? What's going on, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good, just chilling, enjoying my break, and Liam decided to bother me and be like, "Yo, you want to join a podcast?" I was like, "Sure."
Took me like 2 weeks after the major. I was like, oh yeah, like who can I get as a guest?
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm chilling, so yeah, happy to be here. What's going on?
So where are you right now? Are you out west, out east? Are you
Yeah,
in
no,
Europe?
I'm just back home, in
Okay.
Canada, uh,
Okay.
Vancouver.
Nice. Nice.
What are
Is
the
it?
what are the plans for the player break then?
Yeah.
So far, it's just been chilling pretty much, and I'm also like in the process of doing like a lot of like house stuff because I'm in the process of getting a house for myself. So
Nice.
yeah, so
Nice.
just chilling, just
So
trying
are
to
you still
chill,
wait,
just
are
see what I
you
have to
like
do.
still staying with your parents? Is that what it is when you go back home?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just come here obviously because like I didn't want to like buy or think about doing any property for the most part because I spent like most of my time in Europe anyways. So
Yeah.
like, like 80% of the year it's like I'm in Europe anyways, so it's like I don't really want to like focus on getting like a property or something to, kind of get out of here because it's a lot of time and you have to be in the country a lot of the time. So I guess like the best time to do it is like now. Like I started a couple months ago, but I knew the player break was coming up, so I have time to like handle all this stuff. So
Ooh. Well, you're not I wouldn't say you're necessarily hitting it at the right time. The right time is probably a year ago when interest
it,
rates were
I mean, it could have been years
2%.
and years ago, but yeah, trust me, I was looking at houses years ago and I was like, God damn, why didn't I buy a house years ago?
Aren't you're still like 25 though, right?
Yeah, I'm 25. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm 28 and I will probably be renting for forever in New York. You
Yeah.
cannot buy here. It is
And
terrible.
yeah, I know it's not a big possibility for a lot of other people that are my age around here. So yeah, super grateful to be living the life that I get to live. So
Oh, there you go. Were
Not,
you
not
thinking still staying in Vancouver or
yeah, I'm gonna stay like around there's just like where I live pretty much.
nice?
Even
yeah.
though taxes here are kind of a bitch a little bit, but it's
Yeah, I
whatever.
heard about that.
Nothing will
Yeah.
ever beat the start of a Double Doors episode. Last time we talked about the impact of globalism with Maui Snake. This time we're talking about tax and interest rates with NAF.
Oh my
So it's just
goodness. Oh my please. Got to get off this topic. The pain
well,
just gets worse.
fine. Well, then I don't know how great this next
yeah,
topic
the pain's
is
about to
going to
get even
be.
worse.
Oh
No, I
jeez.
mean,
All right, great.
listen. I thought it was good. I don't know. I know how you guys felt about it, but your major run,
Yeah.
the big one. I mean, I would say that the first day was probably the worst day of the entire
Oh yeah.
major. And then I mean, you came back and you did it, and we knew that was going to happen. It's classic liquid, even though you said it. You guys said it yourselves. It wasn't going to be classic slow liquid. It was classic slow liquid.
Yeah.
Do you feel good? I mean, coming out of that major, did you at least look at it and be like, we did what we wanted to at the bare minimum accomplish?
Yeah, obviously like the main goal is just to like make playoffs and all that and just kind of like see where we go from there, see how the team form is and all. So obviously when we first started at the event, it was like pretty tough. Going down 0-2, I played like one of my worst games ever to start the major out, so I felt like pretty guilty starting out the major with my performance and, not helping my team that much. But luckily, I was able to like bounce back a little bit, bring it back. We as a team were able to bring it back. Even against Fluxo in our O2 game, we're down 0-1. We had to bring it all the way back. And yeah, it was crazy to come all the way back. But yeah, for like the playoffs and all that, obviously it's kind of just like how I said, like how we would feel when we made the playoffs. And I think we were feeling pretty good. Like we made it 3-1, and even with our loss to Heroic, it was still pretty close and respectable, and they're like still one of like the top teams, maybe like top 3 teams to like win the major at that event.
Yeah.
And then going into the playoffs, I think we're feeling really good, and then just kind of like drop the ball the way we did versus Apex was like just I don't know. I guess it was just like classic liquid. I guess.
I'm pretty
Uh,
sure that's exactly what you said to me when we were watching the semi-final. We were talking
Yeah,
about the run, and you were like, "Yeah, it's just classic liquid." So
yeah, just classic liquid stuff.
I mean, it happens. I don't know. I thought it was what your first appearance back on the stage since was it no, you didn't make it to Stockholm. It was
I
Berlin?
guess it was Berlin. Yeah, it was
Berlin,
Berlin.
yeah.
Damn.
But then again, like I don't want to like make those excuses because I feel like we lost to a lot of
Oh.
players that were like inexperienced, even though they had some experienced players on Apex. But it's just I don't know. like I said, it's this classic Liquid thing.
It happens, and I think and then Dallas obviously happened after, but at that point, I mean, what the team? I don't. How do you feel about it? I personally dislike the fact that we have like these events post major. No one cares. I don't care. Why are we doing it? Like, it's great to have Dallas. Let's put Dallas somewhere else in the calendar. Maybe that kicks off the beginning of the season. Put a minor event and let everyone get hype. I mean, are
Yeah,
you
yeah, of
guys?
course. I
Do you
mean,
guys still have the same mentality as the major heading into Dallas?
um, I mean, obviously, my goal is every time I show up to an event, I'm there to win. That's like the main goal. It's like
Yeah.
besides that, then what's the point really? But I can understand like some teams. I mean, even our team, like somewhat at times, but like especially at events like that, we already know like a lot of other teams are kind of like just like in vacation mode. Like they're
Yeah.
just like, all right, let's just try our best. But at the same time, if we're out, then at least we can like start to enjoy our break. But at the end of the day, I'm sure most of us all think, we're here to win and to do our job and all that. But it's hard to give it your all when like the season's already so long. You just did everything you could for the major, and then there's like this one last event before your break. So it's like,
Yeah.
Even
yeah,
in
I mean,
terms of
yeah.
you guys, like Nitro, we had known before the start of Dallas that Nitro was out. Does that change the approach going into that event then, knowing that he's gone after this event? Or
I mean, I guess there's like two ways you can kind of take it, where it's like, all right, this our lineup is like pretty much done after this event, so we can just go in like who cares or whatever, But or you can kind of go in with the mindset like, hey, this is the last event with Nitro, like let's do everything we can to like make the stage, give them like last big game on stage, farewell and all that, and yeah, I mean, I mean, I tried to do my best, give it my all, but I know I can't speak for everyone. But at the end of the day, last event, people are tired. People are gonna try their best, but it's just tough. And then at the same time, you already know you're making a roster change, so your mental's kind of like all over the place within terms of the lineup and all that.
Yeah.
yeah.
And how do you feel about it? I mean, Nitro obviously he's got the new kid. He's got a big family. You know, are you happy to kind of see him take this next stage in his life, or are you just kind of like, hey man, what the hell? We had something good here going. Fuck you.
No, I mean, I've always been the teammate, like regardless of like whatever happens, like if you have a different goal in mind and you want to pursue it or something like that, I always encourage them. And obviously, it's different, Nitro, having his first kid and then, having his second kid. I'm sure that's just like too much responsibility for one person, like his wife and all that, just to handle and like his family and all that. So, and I'm sure he doesn't want to miss out too much on his kid's life, especially in Counter Strike, you're never home anyways. So, it's hard even to deal with that, even if we were like the best team in the world, it's like yeah, we could be the best and like sacrifice all these things, but I think like when you have kids like that, it's like they're way too important to just sacrifice moments in time with them. So I think it just inevitably had to happen regardless of how bad or how good we were playing. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's sad to see him go because I think Nick is like someone I always enjoyed playing with over the years. He's always like a great person, great teammate, and yeah, just like just had like a lot of good moments. And I guess like maybe the sad thing about this time is that hey, we already did it twice, and we did our best to make everything work and all that. So
Yeah.
even if a third time rolled around, maybe we wouldn't get too much out of it. But I guess it's kind of sad to say that like we know that we're in like the latter stages of our careers in this game. Like obviously a lot of us are getting older. We aren't the same age obviously that we were a couple of years ago during the Grand Slam run and all that. So it's like we all know in our back of our minds that there's no next time. So it's like,
Mm.
all right, yeah, we had our fun. We did everything we could, and that's just life. It just moves on, and whatever he does, I'm gonna cheer for him, and I'm sure whatever I do or that he'll support me as well. So yeah, he's just a good teammate, good friend, regardless, and I wish him all the best, 100%.
In terms of the timing of the move, it like when I walked past you guys after getting knocked out, I saw Nick's face and he looked really dejected, and I kind of got a sense then that like, oh, this is it. Like he's gone after this. Like it might be retirement, it might be he's just out of the team. But like going into the major, did you guys kind of know or at least have like an inclination, or had it been talked about?
No, the only thing that I heard was Nitro started to have like feelings of, I think like because during this time like he already knew he had a second kid on the way, but it was
Yeah.
back at like the Blast global finals. He already had like an inkling, and I think he already told our coach that like he potentially wants to quit and like step down and all that. So but I didn't really hear too much about that. But it wasn't until after the major, when the major was done, that like the talks kind of started, and like he told everyone, like our management and all that, like he doesn't, he can't like play anymore really, especially with having a second kid now being born. So yeah, that's like the only times I've ever heard. But yeah, the talks only happened pretty much like after the major was over.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when you have your wife who's pregnant and going into labor, and you're supposed to be at this boot camp in
Yeah,
Europe, and it's like
yeah,
and you're like, guys, I gotta go. Which, like, all respect to Nitro for that decision and for like what he did. Like, I genuinely have no problems with it at all. It's obviously a tough situation. Like, what are you gonna do? The only other thing I can look at it is like, all right, man, next time time it out better. Like,
yeah,
you only get a few months, like a little window there. That's what you
yeah,
could do. So, but I mean, I don't know. It's congrats to him. And I mean, I guess it's a tough situation. It's a tough
yeah.
situation.
It's I'm sure it'll be alright for us, and I'm sure it'll be great for him. To obviously,
Yeah.
be there for his kids and his family, and I'm sure whatever he does next is he'll be perfectly fine.
It's just different. It's clearly very different from Europe to North America, right? Because like the Europeans, they're able to have families, right? They're able
Yeah,
to, when they're done, they go home. It's
yeah,
not
of
like
course,
I've
yeah.
got to fly another 10 hours. I'm losing another day. It's, I take a 2-hour EasyJet, man, and I'm back in my home in Copenhagen. It's
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, I gotta go take this connection flight to that connection flight. Okay, brain delay. Now I'm there. It's just a different vibe.
oh yeah, of course. Like we spend all our time in Europe pretty much. So we're definitely living a completely different lifestyle than obviously the Europeans are. So
It's a toughie. It's a
yeah,
toughie.
but yeah, I
So,
mean, I won't trade it for anything in the world. You know,
no,
yeah, playing video games, just
I
making money.
okay. Well,
Who would have
now
thought?
I don't. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with it that I actually have, and now you're undermining my point that I've always felt that pro players feel. It's a job. You work really hard. You do a lot, and when people are like, "Oh, well, they're always living the dream. It can't be that hard." Shut up.
Oh yeah, no,
Do you
yeah,
ever
no,
do you ever feel
yeah.
like that? Like,
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, it's just like one of those things where, like, when people talk about it, I'm not gonna say anything because they won't understand it unless they're in the same position that I am. It's
yeah,
like they're just gonna look at video games, salary, money, and all that. But it's like
yeah.
there's a lot more to that. But I'm not gonna argue with someone that isn't in my shoes, and so they won't understand even if I'm telling them to.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know if either of you watch basketball, but the Denver Nuggets, when they won Nikola Jokic, who's on like hundreds of millions of dollars, they were like, "Oh, are you excited for the parade on Thursday?" He's like, "Oh, what the fuck? I have to go back to Serbia. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a job to him." He's like, "No one likes their job, and that this is my job."
I was
Just
like, I
insane.
don't know about that one.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, it's a lot more grueling, maybe being like physical and all that.
Yeah, true, but
You're gonna be a little bit more maybe exhausted, and like I guess in the NBA you have to play like 80 games in the season,
yeah.
just in the regular. So it's like I guess I could understand like holy shit, get me out of here.
So then, talking about some team news, obviously you've got someone that you need to replace, but it's a little bit different because you're not really going after an IGL, which you're not doing a 1-for-1 replacement. Kinder's going to become the IGL. Obviously, he's a very different kind of person in IGL than I think you guys have been used to. Um, how are you kind of like getting ready for this transition, like this full transition? And then who are you guys kind of like, what are you guys kind of looking after? Like, is it just like a straight up another rifler? Or is it going to be maybe another support player, help you out, let you go frag out? Like, what
Uh,
can you tell us?
I mean, obviously it's hard to say. I obviously can't say like too much, and then again, like with what we're looking for, it kind of like obviously just started. The player break didn't start like for us like too long ago. Obviously, getting back from Dallas, so we're still trying to figure out like what exactly we do want to kind of come in. But yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing I could really say is like towards your reports that like we're not looking for an IGL. I guess like that is I'll say that is somewhat true that we're not really looking for an IGL right now. I think we're gonna let Yakindar kind of be the guy that wants to say the calls because he's just like a player that reminds me a lot like Stewie, like where like he wants to take charge and like he watches the game, he studies the game, he's super passionate about the game, and like he just has that mindset that he believes that like he's a lot smarter than a lot of other players out there, and which I agree with. I think he's super smart. I think he's super talented. Obviously, it was just playing with him and seeing how his mind works and all that, and the way he thinks about things. So yeah, so I guess for those reports, and then really the only question I guess I can really answer is like, yeah, well, we're just gonna let him kind of do
Yeah.
his thing and just see what happens. And uh, But yeah, I mean, obviously the door is always open for maybe potentially an IGL in the future or something like that if we really want to go down that line. But I don't know. We'll maybe we'll see. I guess.
In terms of yourself, like not even say the definite talks that are happening with Liquid. Whenever me and you have talked in interviews, and you've said it elsewhere as well, like the roles that you're in as an anchor, you just kind of, I think the headline was you get your kills and that's kind of it. And you've been
Mhm.
in those anchor roles for a while. For yourself personally, would you prefer to be out of those positions, or have you kind of just grown comfortable in where you are now?
I don't know. I've been obviously I've grown a lot comfortable for where I am now, but like mainly just like on the team. I've always just like done like what the team needs. Like if the team needs an anchor, it's like okay, I'll become like an anchor player and like because even like back then, like during our Grand Slam run and all that, like I was like opping on like half the maps. I was playing like rotator spots on half the maps, and then maybe some spots I was maybe like one or two playing like some anchor spots. So like I've literally played like all the spots I can, and I think the only thing I can say is like I think when I was playing my best Counter Strike and when I was performing my best, when I was more in a role that was more vocal, so like playing more rotator spots, more just like important spots on T, like on T side. But yeah, I just think that's probably when I'm playing my best is obviously just like when I'm more vocal, I have more charge in the team, more authority, I would say. But right now, on the team, I don't really have any of that. I think with just like how I am and what I'm needed for on the team, I just kind of need to just do my job, play my anchor roles, play my lurk roles, get the picks, and just play my games. Just be smart about it, I guess, and just yeah, just essentially do my job because I leave a lot of the strat making, anti-stratting, and just all that stuff like to how the players want to play. Like Yakinder and Elige and Nitro at the time, and the coach and all that were coming up with all that. So I didn't really feel like I needed to plug myself in there to like help them figure out new things or talk about those things. And I pretty much just think about how they want to play the game, and I'm gonna find my way to play the game exactly the same way as they are, so we're all on the same page. So it's nothing really too much about me finding my own things and doing my own things and coming up with my own ways of playing. It's mainly just kind of like following the system and just doing my job and just doing what they need me to do.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to the Paris Major recap because we have a lot to cover there. We had two teams from that are North American players, and then we have our adopted teams, Infuria and Pain. They will forever be our teams. I don't count Fluxo; they play in South America, so they're not us, right? Um, yeah, it was a weird major.
Yeah.
First day was weird overall because Pain did all right. Complexity beat Gamer Legion, one of the only teams to actually beat Gamer Legion
Yeah.
the fucking major. Um, and then you guys went down 0-2, quite shockingly, really. It was
Mhm.
and so I do want to kind of ask, like, what happened in that first day? Was it just like you guys just completely blindsided by what was going on?
So yeah, I guess like before coming to the event, it's kind of like how we mentioned before, where we had a pretty solid boot camp. But the thing is, like with our boot camp, it was only like half the time with our full lineup, because Nitro had to, do that thing. His wife was in
Yeah.
labor and all that, so he had to
Do
do the
that thing.
yeah, he had to do that other important business. But yeah, no. So obviously, like, our major boot camp went really well, but unfortunately, we didn't have our full lineup for the most of it. And then, yeah, going to the first game, I think obviously, like literally, like all of us were super confident. We even said like this has been one of our best boot camps that we have. But at the same time, I feel like when that happens, it just seems like a curse half the time. Anytime a team says, "Oh yeah, we have the greatest boot camp ever," we're beating every other team, and we're just practicing everything, and it was working flawlessly. But
Yep.
yeah, usually that tends to backfire. But so going into the first game against Apex. We were pretty confident, and we knew Apex was more just like that tier two team that's still kind of on the rise. Obviously they have known players and all that,
Yeah.
but they definitely had some rookies that that were playing, and obviously for me it was terrible. I think I was like 1-13 at one point, and then I TK'd Nitro, and I was like, fuck. I'm just like, oh boy. Then yeah, so I had like this awful ancient game, but we are still able to win that, or I mean lose like 16-12. It was still like
Yeah.
close, even with me playing like horrendously. And then I think just like that first game, we were just like I think we were just pretty nervous, in my opinion, just like as a team. Like obviously me as an individual, I didn't feel nervous, but I just felt like I just couldn't find any way to get into the game. And as a team, we're just making a lot of like just micro and macro like mistakes and stuff like that at times. And yeah, and it was just like not working how we thought it was going to work, and it was clearly just like a mental thing. I think our mental was just off when we started the first game. and then so it just ended that way. And I don't know if you want me to like keep continuing throughout the stages.
Yeah,
and
I
things
mean,
like that,
well,
or
I mean, obviously coming out of that game, it seemed like okay, one off OC. Like it really, in all honesty, the problem. I don't want to be mean. The problem just seemed to be you. Like it really,
I mean,
like OC dropped 30. Everyone
of
else seemed
course,
relatively fine. Nitro had like another consistent like 0.9 HLTV game. Like
yeah,
really, like across the board, everyone seemed okay, and it was like okay, NAF just
yeah,
it fucked.
no, I mean,
Whatever.
no, I
Go
played that,
yeah, go
yeah,
next. You play
yeah,
fours, and I mean
yeah,
that was again another nail biting fucking game.
I mean,
And you
of
topped the
course,
scoreboard that game. You fixed it.
In
sorry, what?
No, I was gonna say in terms of the Apex game, like for yourself, you've kind of been known around NA and like across the scene in general as just Mr. Consistent. In terms of those games where the very, very rare one where you can't get into the game, is it kind of jarring or like what do you kind of think at the moment when that's happening?
Um, I don't know, but all I know is like throughout like my career, something I've actually kind of paid attention to a little bit, but like I've had like so many games where I'll start like 0-7, 1-7, or like 1-6, 1-8, 2-8 or something. And I'll start really slow, and then I'd find ways to just like be at the top of the board somehow. Like at the end of the game, I'll see I'm like, oh yeah, holy shit, I brought it all the way back. And I think that's like something that I've learned like over the years, just like to help my mental, and obviously just like obviously players in North America always had issues with like when they're playing bad, they get tilted, they get frustrated, they get
Yeah.
down on themselves, and they just pretty much just collapse. But I've just kind of like learned like over the years that Counter Strike is a round by round game. You can find like any round you can be back in the game just like that. So you just always need to make sure you're still in it. Not giving up, being frustrated, and all that, and you'll find ways to bring it back. And like I've done it so many times to the point where I'm like, yeah, okay, like if you just think this way, like you'll always find ways to bring it back in the game. And in the end, you could, or at the start, you could be at the very bottom, and in the end, you could be on the very top. But yeah, obviously, when it comes to when I have games like that, it's very disappointing and all that. And I always try my best to not have those games, because it's kind of just like how I mentioned. I don't put a lot of time into like the strategy in the team. I kind of just focus more on myself and just like my individuals and just like with the roles that I have. And I feel like if I just have like my impact and frags and all that, then I'll just be doing what my team needs me to do, and I'm just here to do what my team needs me to do. But yeah, yep. But yeah, just like Ryan said, yeah, I understand. I played like ass. I was pretty much responsible for losing that game. I take full responsibility, and I think I feel like that's a big thing if you want to be like a consistent player or like a good player. It's like you need to be realistic with yourself. You can't like sweep things under the rug when things go wrong, or just blame them on other people, or else those. I think usually people's careers tend to just crash before they land in their when it's supposed to be over. So
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, I was able to bring it back, and then yeah, in the next game. So yeah, going into the Forza game, I think we're feeling a lot more confident. We're feeling really good as a team. We just definitely felt like, all right, like the nerves and like the mistakes making and all that is like pretty much out the door after the first game. But yeah, no, so we're playing pretty well. I recall, I think we had like a good T side. Like we're playing Nuke. We got a lot of rounds. Nuke is a CT sided map, and we just fumbled the ball like at the very last. And then again, like I think like on 14-14, like I got a kill, but then like I overpeaked to try to go for another one because I was playing with like full confidence, and it ended up costing us. And like we were down 15-14, then we ended up losing 16-14. So again, there's like something I take responsibility for, where I feel like maybe if I just played a little bit right in these small areas, we could have won 16-14. So yeah, I mean, just always trying to be honest with myself and just doing the best, so go into the next game, not making the same mistakes. But yeah, it was just like small margins of errors losing the Force game. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was just unfortunate. 16-14, 16-12 losses just in the best of ones. It's nothing too hard to be down about, but yeah, then again, we're in the O2 stage. So yeah.
So I want to quickly talk about Pain and Complexity, and Liam, we can dive a little bit in there. But Pain started off with their win, 16-2 over Fluxo. Like from there, it was like, okay, this Fluxo looks like they're just completely lost. And to be honest, I think we all also looked at the Americas RMR. We're like, Fluxo should not be here. Like, he's just not the team. And like right now, when we'll do it in the Rostermania stuff, they're like trying to get 3 of Pain's players. So like
Yeah.
clearly,
They're blowing up their roster basically after
yeah,
making the major.
And then Complexity won. So we had 2 NA teams go up 1-0. Liquid, really, it should have been 3 out. We should have had 3 NA teams go 1-0. And then Pain lost to FaZe. Not like super, right? Like
Yeah.
16-12
I mean,
loss. Pretty
yeah.
good. Complexity 16-9 against G2. Like I wasn't mad at either of them. I thought it was good. So like 1-1s on the board. and then they got kind of flung into a difficult situation where Complexity then had to play Pain and just blew it.
Yeah.
Like 16-4 loss in it was on a map too that they like actually they like
Nuke?
Oh yeah,
I
was
remember
that
they
that was
were
the nuke game, right?
It was Nuke, yeah, I think.
Yeah.
they were amped about it. They were like, we totally got it. This is going to be great. And they just couldn't get it together.
Yeah.
Zevi, a monster once more.
Yeah. And then we all know what happened at 1-2 when Complexity went down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy. Well,
Yeah.
maybe we
1-2
shouldn't talk about
Complexity.
it. I mean, damn, dude, we almost said the 60-0. You know. But
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
if
think
we
I
want
was
to do
right.
that.
I was writing the recap for that game, and it got to 15-0. I was like, please don't fucking do it, please.
Yeah.
I think that was probably the most demoralizing and devastating thing. It's also where I was like, oh, Liquid's so fucking back. Like, God, thank God.
Yeah.
But I also was like, why would you play Overpass against Liquid? Like,
I don't know. We tend to play Overpass versus them sometimes. I think it's just because it's like one of their more confident maps, so they're just like, we gotta find a way to just beat them on this map because it's one of our best, and we can't even beat them. It's like,
So what was that game like? I mean, obviously, the Complexity are still like the little brothers to Liquid. How do you? And obviously, you're playing against an old teammate in Grim. How did that game go? I mean, it felt like an easy 2-0 for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember. Wait, what was the first map again? Do you guys remember?
Anubis 16.
Anubis. Oh yes. Okay, I remember. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, we played Anubis. We played Anubis against them like multiple times, and like we always seem to have their number on that map. So, yeah, I think we ended up picking. Yeah, we ended up picking Anubis, and then it just worked out. Even though I think that map is terrible, especially at the B bomb site. I hate being a G anchor on that map. I just want to let everybody know that. That map is terrible at B if you're a CT side. You might not be seeing me play there ever again. Maybe, who knows? Yeah, well, no, we had their number. We on Anubis most times. We played really well. Yeah, our map pick. And we also believe we're the better team. So just smooth sailing. I remember we were owning them. They could never save. We're up like 8-1 or something like, and we're like owning them on the T side. So we had all the momentum. And then yeah, going into overpass. Yeah, I don't know. Anything they tried, we just like shut it down. That was just like a game we are just feeling, like we're just like double wide swinging blue as CTs, and then like, yeah, just like anything they tried, we caught them. They try to lurk up long with one guy, I'd just be randomly swinging bank, and I'd be killing Fang in the side, So, yeah, we are just feeling it, and domestic matchup, we have full confidence. Like I'm always really confident when we play Complexity because I feel like I don't know. Anytime I play them, I usually just smash them. So I'm just confident in their style, or they're just like the way they play. And yeah, so it was pretty much smooth sailing. There's nothing really too much to say about it. And yeah, maybe in the end, maybe not. I'm happy that we didn't 16-0 them, our fellow North American, brethren there. I didn't want to do that to them. So yeah, it was easy for us.
I think even outside of the fact that it's a domestic matchup, I think that's a difficult match for Complexity going into anyways, because it's very hard to look where do you go in that veto, considering how good Complexity are in Overpass against majority of teams, and then just like going into that game, getting railed, getting knocked out of the major, like it's just a difficult matchup in terms of veto and in terms of the fact that there's more firepower on your side pretty much all the time. So
yeah, they pretty much just have to like pick their poison essentially when it comes to the map pick, right? So yeah, tough.
And then Pain, we're going on ahead to play Apex. They actually were they had a lead on the last map. It was like a 6-2 lead on the last map on Anubis on their CT side. And I was like, okay, they kind of did it. Like 6 rounds on CT, baby. That's all that you need. Like you should be good to go. And then I think they only got like 2 rounds on their T side. Yeah. And they lost it. And I was like, okay. And obviously that was one that they should have won. You guys played you played
Greyhound.
Greyhound. Oh,
yeah.
that I don't even I mean, like I feel bad because I know that we have an Australian audience that like watches this and like consumes our content, and I don't want to be dicks, but I'm just like the levels between you and Greyhound are so different, and it was also the perfect matchup for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we just have like, I mean, obviously, they're from the Oceanic region, so it's like they don't get to play against all the top teams probably as much as they want to. And yeah, when we played them, I always felt like we were just like always a step ahead of them in like everything we did, but they would just catch us off with just like the small like gimmick plays, going for like op picks or or just like these random pushes and all that, and just. But when they try to play standard versus us, like we always just knew that like we're just like ahead of them, so it just felt like everything we would do would always just be a step ahead, and it would just feel easy, I guess you could say, because most of the games we play versus them are pretty comfortable. Regardless, at Dallas it was actually pretty tough. that we went into 2 deep overtimes versus them. But I think
Yeah.
at Dallas we didn't have the same energy, especially with the circumstances that we are dealing with in Dallas. We
Yeah.
definitely didn't feel the same. But even in that state, we're still able to win. So I mean, yeah, we're usually pretty comfortable over Greyhound, even though they have some strong individuals, I would say. But just as a team, it's just hard. So I always believe that we just have the the benefit over them in terms of our experience and playstyle.
In terms of where they're at, and like you said, they don't get to play in Europe a lot. Like the Australian and the Asian teams that come over, do you think they've kind of caught up in terms of meta, or do you think they're still just a bit further behind?
No, I mean I think they're still behind because I feel like a lot of the players now are like kind of like new. I mean, obviously players like Alistair and like Liez and Ince and all that have like and Seiko have like all been around for a while. But I feel like it's like all about playing it consistently. Like I said, like we spend most of our time in Europe, and I think that's like how you can manage it well is when you're going up against that type of style consistently. Whereas like I don't know how many times they have to go back to Australia or like what they're doing and all that, but even for us, you can see it's still tough for us versus against other European teams. And I feel like at times where I'm just like, oh yeah, if I was just like in Europe, and I didn't have to bother about going back to NA and dealing with all these obligations and stopping practice to travel, and then when I'm there, I have to do things so I can't even practice or play, and then I fly back, and then it's just like, oh yeah, they've just been playing still for the past 2 weeks, grinding,
Yeah,
and it's just like, oh okay, yeah, just gotta restart it back up. But it's just hard. It's just hard to like play in your own region and then play against the teams there because they play a different style. It's not the tier one style; it's some different style. So like they have to kind of just come up with their own, and well, that's when I get like when I played like Rare Atom at ESL Pro League. I remember like they smoked us in the first game, but I
Yeah.
think that was more about us just like kind of playing a little bit bad, but like they're just doing like a lot of stuff that was just like weird that you just don't see in the tier one style, and it just caught us off guard. And then
yeah.
we just played them the second time, and we're able to get the win. So yeah, I think it's more about just playing consistently versus these teams. But so I don't think they're necessarily like caught up or anything like that. It's just if you want to really catch up, you need to be there consistently. And it's hard. I know it's hard for these teams. If it's hard for us, I know it's hard for teams like Greyhound, Rare Atom, and all that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Okay, and then let's looking back on it, Payne going out 2-2 when they had two chances for qualification. Obviously the team is rising up. They're good. Some of their players are getting looked at. How do you feel? Like, how do you feel about Payne? Like, and how they've grown in the North American scene, getting to where they are? Do you think that this might have been an underachievement? Do you think they could have made like actual like the legend stage?
Yeah. I mean, every time I play against them, I mean, for the most part, we play against them like online most of the time, so I think it's like a little bit different. But I think we even played them at like some maybe LAN events. I'm not sure, but I know for the most part, like every time we played them, it was hard. Like we usually would lose to them actually. Like even like back in the day, like when we had fallen and even shocks at times, like we would lose games versus them. I think like they had like really strong individual players in terms of Zevi. Their opera's really good, and I just think also like their caller Big User is pretty good. I think in terms of like his own individual strengths, and I think even calling wise, I think he seems to do pretty well. And then Skulls seems to just be like this up and comer, like
Oh yeah,
yeah, like I seen his name in the scene like a couple like maybe a few years ago and all that still, but like I think now it's like he's kind of hitting the right team. He's like in his right roles probably, and he seems to be playing pretty well. I think he's one of the better Brazilian players right now. So yeah, obviously, with them being eliminated, I don't know what was the last team they played when they got eliminated.
Monty.
Oh, Monty. Yeah, I mean, I probably would have expected like like a harder fight, maybe, or maybe a chance to win. But that Monty team was playing really well, so I guess it's like hard
Yeah,
to say. But then again, two, 3, I guess it's like not too bad. And yeah, I mean, they've been playing well, and just to get to the major and see how far they kind of went, I think it was still like a good result for them. But I see right now they seem to be struggling somewhat, so I think they're kind of dealing with
yeah,
like that period of like being a team for a while, and then like when the waves start to rock a little bit, it's hard to keep everybody level headed, and I think things will just go wrong. And yeah, I think they're in that stage right now, so I guess that's kind of like why they're mixing teams like with the report with
yeah.
Muzo and all that.
Yeah.
I think they're starting to hit that rough patch, that initial rough patch, and now they're trying to find like other ways to do it, and I think they're trying to do that within roster changes. So I mean, they're a good team, but I guess ultimately up to them what they want to do.
I think one of the ones that kind of went under the radar with the player who really underperformed at the major was Zebi. Like, I know you said he's like a really great opera up and coming, but like a 0.88 for your opera on a team that's looking to compete to get through to the legends and maybe even make a push towards the playoffs. Because there's some teams in playoffs that I think Payne probably would match up pretty well against, like Into the Breach, for example. I think Payne would match up against them pretty well. Same with Apex. Like, I think they gave him a good fight. But if Zevi kind of disappears like that, you're not going to make it fair. And it's just that one rare event that he didn't show up to, but it's also the biggest event of his career. So maybe just with a bit more time, he just needs to relax and get a bit more experience in those events. So
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely one of the more talented people, up and coming talents that I've played against. I think is he has that like chance, like you could see it in him when he's playing. So yeah, he's inexperienced. He'll bounce back 100%. So yeah.
And then complexity 1 and 3 is not great. It's
Who was the last team they lost to?
So they lost. Let me bring it back up.
you guys, wasn't it?
Yes, you guys eliminated
was that
them.
we were the ones that eliminated? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They
Okay,
played
yeah.
Pain in the 1-1, and then you were the elim
Okay.
at 1.
At
Yeah,
1,
I
too.
mean,
how dare you?
Can't
even
sorry.
remember.
Apologies. I didn't know if it was a 1-1 game or 1-2 game as well. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, those are tough games. Again, they're like domestic matchups, so like anything can happen, and we always have their number. And I don't know how many times they played Pain, and who knows, the Pain could have played them a lot, and Pain could be kind of doing the same thing that we do, or it's that like they don't play each other often at all. And I think if both teams didn't really play each other that often, and if I had to probably pick a team to win, I probably would still bet on Pain to beat them as well. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's tough, but that's just the way it is. That's life.
I think the difficult thing with complexity is if you take the results just at face value, which you always can't do. At Antwerp, that time last year, so a full 365 days, they went out 1-3 to Liquid. Two different Liquid teams. I know they saw Junior at the time, and it still is just a 1-3 finish at the challenger stage. So it's nearly like you haven't progressed at all. I know they've had better results, but it's so fluctuating. Like you don't know if you're going to get an IEM Katowice version of them, or was it Pro League that they like bombed out towards like last place. So
Yeah.
yeah. No, go on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know what that team does like moving forward. It's obviously pretty tough because like I feel like they already if I could say anything, I feel like they already maxed out their full potential with this lineup that they have. So I think it's like it's hard to just continue going on and like like changing things in terms of your play style. It's just because I don't know, they've been playing with a lot of the same players for years now. So it's like if anything, I think they already got everything that they gotten everything all they know about all their players, all their teammates, and what the in-game leading or like the structure of everything that they do. So I don't know. If anything, they might need to make like drastic changes. So I'm not sure, but I think they should make some sort of change for sure. Maybe.
They've hinted at it in interviews and stuff. I know Graham did an interview at the major where he hinted like it's always on the mind. So whether we see something towards this off season, who knows? But
Yeah.
All right. So quickly moving on because we have taken so much time just talking.
Yeah.
About the main adventure.
I'll try to tone down my talking because I forgot you're on the clock.
But the Legend stage then became kind of a shit show. I mean, you guys just cruised right ahead. Like absurdly, the first day was nothing like your first day before. You had the win over 9, which I was like, yeah, you guys should win. But then the win over Navi, which was just, I think what was that? It was like a 14-1 first half. Like it was absurd on Inferno. It was insane.
Yeah.
What happened on that Navi game? I need to know more.
I think like when it comes to like a lot of these teams like Cloud9 and Navi, Yakindar, obviously since he was leading, and like when he comes to those teams, he always comes to us and says like, "You have like a great game plan." Like, and I think that just comes from like how he's played with them, and I think he grew with like a lot of these players playing with them over the years, and then in the CIS teams, like they'll be practicing against each other a lot of the times, and like they just like kind of have like a play style where they all kind of understand each other pretty well, and anytime we would play like teams like Cloud9 or Navi, he would always, come and be like, "Yo, I know what to do. I have the best strategies. Like, I know how they think and blah blah blah, and like we're gonna do this, blah blah blah." And individually, obviously, the prep that he did, and like how much comfort he has with playing against these styles, you can just obviously clearly see that on Banana when he was playing, on T side. He's calling pretty much mainly like all the right things, and individually he was doing all the right things, and he was pretty much able to propel us to like a 14-1 half, So
it was the most absurd like first half performance by anyone I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
He would just run up Banana, kill 2 people, and then it was like, oh, bomb site's free.
Yeah.
And it was like, what?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. But it was just definitely one of those games where it's like who can have the shittier CT side. You know, both teams were feeling the T sides like a lot, and the pressure of being on the defense on Inferno can be pretty tough sometimes. So, luckily, we know with being up 14-1, it's like with that scoreline, it's pretty much nearly impossible to come back. So it's like hard with the other team's mental, where they're like, okay, we can't slip up or make any mistakes, or else we lose. So like they try to maybe play too perfect, and then they'll end up just like losing rounds. And I think that's pretty much just what happened. You know, we had 14-1, we're able to just lose some rounds CT side, but we're able to just close it out, and that was pretty much the map.
I'd like to
Yeah.
believe that when the 14-1 half hit, there was the little break between the half starting up again, that you were just staring at the PC like classic Liquid. Classic Liquid.
Nah, no. That was definitely nothing in that moment. Maybe in some other moments, but that moment was like, dude, this is over. I'm not even gonna play the rest of the major at this point.
The heroic game, I mean, that was just back and forth. You guys play that close. I mean, I don't want to say that there's nothing super like new to talk about, but like there really isn't. Like you guys, you've played heroic, you've played Danish people so many times, and it always ends up in like a 2-1 victory or a 2-1 loss. Doesn't matter. It's there. You swap map picks this time, which that one I was like, oh wow, that could have been crazy.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't know. Like, was there anything
Mm,
notable that you can really remember from that game?
I mean, nothing like too crazy, but the only thing I can really just say about Heroic is that like I think they're like a super talented team, and just like the way they operate and the way they function with the way Cadian's calling and all that. But I think their team like reminds me a lot of like our team, how Liquid was like years ago. They remind me of like our team like all those years back, with just like how they can't get past semifinals, and like in finals they struggle,
Yeah.
and luckily now they're able to get that one trophy back in Denmark, and then now they got the one in Washington, which is obviously awesome. But they just seem to be those players where like I don't know, they're similar to ours. So anytime we go up against them, it just seems like just like a mirror matchup. But I feel like just like with their chemistry and just like how their team is just playing during those times is just like they usually just like seem to have the edge in terms of just like their trades and all that, and just their individual prowess in terms of some of their players, and like Stown and all that, and Yabby will be popping off sometimes. So for the most part, it's just like it always just seems like somewhat almost like an even matchup. But then again, for the most part, they usually have the edge in the end. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is like a classic heroic Liquid game for the most part, I believe.
When you look at Heroic, knowing that kind of comparison with Liquid, and you guys had the change with Stewie that kind of propelled you into this Grand Slam dominant team, do you think that's something with Heroic that it could be a case of one more change, or do you think if they keep going with this roster, this is the roster that they're going to get over the line with?
I think it's like pretty tough for them to make a roster change, because I do believe they have a good team on paper. I'm not really sure just like what the issues are that happens. It's definitely just like some internal thing that happens within their team when it gets to those points, because I feel like they do have the right players, they do have the right mindsets for the most part of it. They always seem to be getting pretty hyped. Nobody seems to get like too frustrated. I think like the only thing I really heard was that like when the pressure moments come, they just like their communication starts to drop. Their players start to feel the pressure, and like then there's just disconnects in terms of the teamwork and all that. And I think that's like why when it gets to those semifinals and all that, they start to feel a little pressure in finals. But I think that's just like things that are just like the same problems that we had back in the day. They're just all in our heads. They're all in our minds. And like it took us sometimes where we had conversations to sit down and be like, yo, like why do we choke in semis? Why do we choke in finals?
Yeah.
Like it literally had to get to that point because like it just kept happening. And I think they started to kind of agree with
They're
that face
getting
value,
there.
because with like all the HLTV interviews and all that or whatever they're doing, they're just memeing saying like, "Oh, we're gonna lose," and I was saying the same stuff back then too. Like, "Oh yeah, about to get second place again. Here we go." Like, silver medals for Liquid. Yeah, yeet, like uh, so they're kind of doing the same. They're kind of like in the same path that we were on Liquid back in the day. So I mean, it's funny to see the kind of replication and like the similar things about them. So yeah, no, I think they have a good lineup. I think they have a good team. They have good leadership, and I think it's just more of the mental things that they just need to maybe hash out in their minds, because I think they're all super talented. So.
On the other end of the spectrum, Furia just like, and I don't want to be mean because they're like losing that first game really set them up for failure, right?
Mm,
Because they lost the first game, then they have to play NIP in the O1, and then they lose to NIP, and then they have to play G2 in the
yeah,
O2. And it's like, first of all, that blows. Second of
yeah,
all, you should beat Monty as Furia. You just
yeah.
should.
Mm.
Um, are you concerned at all about your Brazilian brothers?
I mean, I think they kind of just fell into the same problems that we kind of fell into. I think like even with these teams popping off, they're still hard. Like we played Apex, we played Into the Breach, like we're still struggling. So it's like, is this Counter Strike and maybe getting a
Yeah.
little hard? But I think at the same time, I think with their roster, they knew. I think that in that moment before that major, I think they knew that they're gonna make changes. So like I think that was like in their mind somewhat. And I guess like during that time they were like trying to play like a different style from what I've read in the interviews, that they're trying to do
Yeah.
something different, but like that's not gonna work. Like that just like doesn't work. You just need to go with your style, and if it just like go all the way with it. If it just doesn't work, then you're not the right man to be calling, or you're just like not the right team to be just shifting things. Like you can't like I feel like you can't do that. I feel like it's too hard for yourself to
Yeah.
call, and even for the players. So it's just like I think there was just too much going on within their team eternally that like it was just not gonna work when it came match time. So I think right now with the changes that they'll make, I'm sure they'll be back on the right path. But yeah, I think it was just too much for them to handle in my opinion.
Obviously not a fun time to see those guys go down, and now through a whole bunch of roster rumors that we'll get to. But yeah, so then you guys make quarters, and then quarters was just
Classic Liquid.
Yeah,
classic
classic
Liquid.
liquid.
Is that I mean just kind of how it went? It just kind of felt like classic Liquid. Just
I don't know. I feel like after we finished the group stage and challengers and then played legends, it felt like I feel like once we got to the champion stage and the whole new venue and all that, and playing in the arena and all that, it's not like we get nervous playing in like arenas or something like that. It's just that with a couple days that went by and then playing in a new setting, I think like it just felt like a different tournament for us. Kind of like we just like the reason I say that is because like when we went to the game, it felt like we were a little bit slow again. Like when we played against them in the first initial challenger stage, it's just like it just didn't feel right, especially on the first map. It just didn't feel right again. And then when we went into the second map, we were just like I don't know, we are just getting owned. Like Kicksan was like 18-7 or something, just owning us at
it
barrel.
was
Like
absurd.
literally nothing was working and nothing was going how it was supposed to be. And Knock in the end won like a 1 versus 3 that he shouldn't have won. So it's just like even when we're trying to come back, everything's just like not going
Yeah.
our way. And yeah, it just I don't know. Some things for us just kind of went out the window and it just faltered and it pretty much just collapsed.
Well, should we expect you there back in 2024?
Of course.
All right, good.
We got something brewing. We got some shit cooking. Don't
Well,
worry.
I'm excited. It's gonna be your second roster change in, I guess, the year technically,
Yeah.
because you're gonna have to. And I don't want to put pressure on you because I know that you're not the one making the decision, but we're gonna be finding out about your roster in about a week from today.
Oh yeah, because I
Uh,
think there's like
Roster
last
lock.
deadline.
roster lock. So I mean, yeah,
So
you guys will figure it out soon enough.
I'm listen. It's my job is to figure it out before then. It's my job to be doing this, so I'm gonna be doing my best here.
Yeah.
But no, I'm excited. I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see what you can do. And then obviously Apex Gamer Legion, Vitality winning. Like, was it nice to see the underdogs? Was it nice to see like Apex and Gamer Legion kind of coming out of nowhere and like proving themselves on the world stage? I think the hate kind of went away from Gamer Legion the second that they beat Heroic on lane.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it just shows that like with like the kind of the partner teams with ESL and Blast, like obviously they get so much praise and we get so much praise because we're just playing against each other all the time. Whereas like these tier 2 teams are obviously they're playing in leagues against these other tier 2 teams that are pretty much just as good as tier 1 teams, probably just play a little bit different just due to the experience and all that. But um I feel like I feel like all of them are like super good. They're super talented. I think like a lot of these teams had like the tier 1 players on teams at one point, but they're kind of just like maybe got kicked from their teams or left their teams, and they're just forming like these other teams that weren't playing in the tier 1 leagues.
yeah.
But I feel like they're just as good. They just maybe miss some things just to be consistent, obviously. But uh, yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, no, I think they're getting good. Uh, with everything that all the games they get to play and all that in the tier 2 scene because I know they play a lot. So
I think Apex
yeah.
had like some insane thing. They played like 180 maps already in
Yeah, so
2023.
they literally
It's
have
like
way more reps than we did when we're playing in tier 1, and that's just like how it is. But I think they're all super talented, a lot of them, especially like Apex, Gamer Legion. A lot of those players, it's just they're just not in the tier 1 team, so they don't just have too much spotlight. But that doesn't
right.
take away with how good they are.
Yeah, I think it's also a case of like the fact that you say with practice over in Europe, the level that you do level up, and I know a lot of these tier 2 teams, like I know Viperia, for example, they get a chance to play a lot of the top tier 1 teams in practice, and even if they're not getting to the tournaments like a pro league or fucking whatever, like
Yeah.
Cologne or anything like that, they still do get to play against those teams and learn their tendencies and how to play that proper Counter-Strike, like you said.
Yeah, I remember. I remember watching them at the RMR, the European RMR, the Viperio team. Like they still won games, and it's like even with
I need
teams.
some Irish representation at the major. That's
Yeah,
something.
even with players that you don't even know, it's like they're still pretty good. They just don't play in the spotlight. Like that's all.
All right. Well, moving on into IM Dallas and Blast Spring, closing out our season. Yeah, I don't know. Dallas seemed like a fine event. I was also gone for half of it, so I kind of didn't have like a super ton of energy or like caring. I don't know. We build ourselves up to being like the major is so important and so big, and you spend all this time and you do all these things, and then I kind of like got to Dallas and I was like, I'm okay. Like Dallas is great. I'm excited. We should have more American events, but like I don't know. I couldn't find myself getting super excited, especially when the format is so different like it, right? I feel like
Yeah.
it's a much more punishing format.
Oh yeah.
And it's because Complexity had to play Ents, who eventually won the whole thing.
Yeah.
Mao's like came in second, and they're like they had to play Furia, so they knocked out Furia like super quickly. It was just like everyone just kind of lost. I will say the only really exciting thing was Evil Geniuses bringing FaZe Clan to overtime, like out of nowhere, and I don't know. I kind of was like, okay. Like, I mean, even admittedly for you guys, you brought Astralis to the brink. You don't get to then you can't move on. You play Greyhound, you win Greyhound, and then your reward is congratulations. Now you have to play FaZe Clan, who just lost to Ents. It's like
Yeah.
it's just a ridiculously hard event that's not forgiving. That does not it punishes people. It punishes them.
Yeah, I mean, when we started out the event playing against the Shaws, when we're playing them, we definitely felt like we were the better team. I just felt like I don't know. There's just I think maybe with like that notion that we know that like this is our last event with Nitro and all that. Like we're all kind of still giving it our all, but at the same time, just like in the back of your minds, it's like oh we're done after this anyways. So but like well, we tried. I think in the Strauss game, we felt like the better team. I don't know, but Altex was kind of just like owning us randomly, and he was just playing good again. Just another monster player, just playing good every time we come on monster. Like I don't know, I don't understand, but um, that happens. Some players have good games randomly. That happens.
Just
But
like with things.
yeah, it just always happens to us apparently. And yeah, and then we played Greyhound. We had that grueling Greyhound game. It was back and forth, But then again, like I said, we didn't have the same energy that we did at the major. So I think they were able to kind of catch up a little bit on us. But we were able to win 2-0. And yeah, then we had to play FaZe. And then FaZe is always just like a top team. I feel like they have like the perfect lineup. They'll always find ways to like get into playoffs and all that. So it's always just gonna be tough regardless to play against them.
Yeah.
And then yeah, playing against them, I'm playing Anubis CT side B bomb site. I'm getting flashed.
Your favorite place.
I'm getting flashed, and then they're all over the bomb site. My cave player is dead already, and then it's my fault he dies. All that, and so it's like, I don't know. That map's terrible, and then yeah, we lost that map, and then a little bit closer on the next one. But yeah, it was just they were just obviously just a better team. They're always ahead of us, and yeah, the event was nothing really for us. We didn't have much in it for us, probably.
I mean, it was
With the
tough.
FaZe, I was gonna say with the FaZe game, I know it was a twist that nearly had like a ninja defuse to end Nitro's tier 1 career. What was the atmosphere like in the server at that
Yeah, I
point?
mean, we're all laughing, and Nick, Nick was saying like, "Dude, this guy's trying to ninja defuse my last game of my career. What the fuck?" Yeah, that's obviously pretty funny, But from what Russ was telling me, he just said how he just told him to just go defuse, man. We have a lot of money. Go try to ninja defuse. So it's whatever. If a teammate's telling him to do it, then all right. He wasn't the sole culprit of everything. So
I love it. But yeah, 4 NA teams were there. Technically 5 with Furia. Oh, no, 4. Yeah, 4 with Furia. I know 5 with Furia because we had Nouns.
Nouns, yeah.
Barely got past day 1. Just
mm.
gotta love it. Are we now? And then as we look at Blast Imperial, they at least made it their way into semifinals. Complexity made their way into the top 8 or top 6 technically.
Top 8's the whole tournament.
Top 8 is the whole tournament. Listen, they won one match. They won one match, and then they played Imperial, and I was so like, they're totally gonna do it. They're gonna go into the stage.
I knew they were gonna bottle it the second it was Imperial.
Yeah, when I saw Imperial, I was like, oh
no. Are we in a bad spot right now, NAF? Are we in a bad spot for North America? Like, what Is this just a rough patch? Or should we just ignore these two events? Because I'm trying to find hope. I'm the most hopeful copium guy. You know it, and I'm starting to get worried.
I don't know. It's like I don't know. It's like really tough. It's always been really tough being in the NA scene. I don't even know how to answer this question, to be honest. It's just tough. Like even like if you look at us, it's even hard for us at times, you know.
I,
So you could imagine the teams like Nouns and I don't know the other teams, ATK or something like that. You could imagine like how hard it is for them as well. So yeah, and you know it's just like yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Being in North America is tough. If you're not in Europe, it's just gonna be hard, man. You're gonna have a hard time.
it is.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
even makes it difficult now. Like we were saying, Nouns didn't get past the first day of IM Dallas, but they made it to IM Dallas, and now we see Cynic is out. It looks like they're trying to build something there, and then the IGL's gone. It's like, where's that project going to go? So
Yeah, and then now it's like, all right, now that they rebuild something again with another player, a new IGL, new
Yeah.
system, the way the team
Exactly.
functions will be completely different. So it's like, it's hard enough for us when we have to deal with that shit. So I couldn't imagine another NA team that's a little bit, you know, down the ranks compared to us. I think it's tough too. So I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea what the answer is. It's tough. I mean, my highest recommendation is like, well, yo, let's all move to Europe. We'll find a nice, cozy place. We'll all hang out and we'll just
Yeah,
play
let's
and
go.
we'll just work our way up the ranks, everyone.
kills me. It kills me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, Ryan, but that's just like how it is nowadays. It's
I
tough.
know it's, and I don't know what the issue is to fix it. I mean, everyone says practice is a big concern in.
I mean, yeah, I mean, practicing in America is just pointless pretty much because, like, I think like the short way to say it is like what I always say is like the you can practice as much as you want here, but you're not gonna learn or change anything because it's not what the real tier one play style is, anyways. So you'll be practicing. You could be the best of of America, but okay, it's not anything close to being the best in the world. So if you want to find out how to be the best in the world, you have to find that in Europe. You don't find that in America.
God, it kills me. It
Yeah,
really
I mean it's
does.
tough. It's sad. Yeah, that's just the way it is.
You know, I can get it. All right, let's hop into Rostermania here. So you're making changes, obviously. EG, I think I will say this now. It's pretty clear that changes have to happen with that organization and have to happen with that team.
Yeah.
So I
It's been
think
clear since the first event of the season that they
It's
need
been-
changes,
no, the first event of the season, they beat Heroic,
and they got railed
it
by
was
everyone
fine
else.
after. That bought them, at least to me, 3 months, and I've been riding on that high for 3 months. No, yeah, EG needs to make changes. They've talked about bringing up the entire EG Black Squad and just playing with them instead, and just being like, "This is it, just deal with it," or "This is how we're gonna run it." And then, like you said, complexity. They potentially have changes. Furia is apparently going after like Fallen. Like where do any like which one of these do you want to dive into first? And which one do you even feel like feels like makes the most logical sense?
I mean, obviously EG needs to make changes for sure. I just like I don't understand like what's going on with that team. I mean, obviously I want EG to succeed as an org and as for their team and players and all that because we need that in Counter Strike. Even though I may have bashed them before a little bit.
I don't remember.
I was about to say big fan of the management.
I never said that.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't
but
recall.
yeah, I know, but yeah, they're very important within the scene, and I don't know with their team. I feel like they definitely need some changes. I think I don't know. I don't even know. It's so tough. I honestly think they might have to get like some more European players, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Maybe keep like Breeze, Automatic, Nealon, and then
So it's interesting that you
what
say
is it?
keep Breeze because people have said that Breeze has been the problem for so long. And it's
Yeah,
I'm kind of
I kind of agree. Yeah,
I think the problem is he's not his form hasn't come back and it's not coming back. And I think he needs a change of scenery.
I don't
And I
know.
honestly think a new system might actually help him.
It's hard to have form on that team when it's literally been dead for like 2 years. And like EG management's bringing me like some of these players. I'm just like, all right, sure, let's go with it. But I mean, I mean, obviously it's tough. I mean, obviously, I know when a player has been playing that long and like there doesn't seem to be any improvement really. It's tough. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, you could. I think maybe just giving Tim and Nealon maybe is like the play, and you get like some European players. But
Right.
I think I'd kind of want to just keep Breeze because if you want to keep your NA RMR spot, unless you want to go all the way in and have a complete European team and you play in the European RMR, then that's your choice to make.
Yeah,
You know, that's
good
like that's
luck.
up to you.
Do you
So I
think
would
calling
probably,
up George would be an option?
I mean, George for Breeze, maybe potentially. I just don't know if they play the same roles. I don't like
Yeah.
know anything about them. I mean, if they do, then maybe that could be a shout. And then maybe bring back. I mean, if they want to keep it NA, then maybe get George for Breeze, and then get like Junior for Wiz, and then
Man.
who's like their fill player? Who's their fifth player? It's Nealon,
Uh,
Tim, Breezy, Wiz, and then who's the fifth?
it's Refresh.
Oh yeah, and then Refresh.
What the
Oh yeah,
fuck? I
Refresh
forgot he
is.
existed.
That is
Uh,
terrible, guys. Come on, they like signed him, and it was like he was supposed to save EG, and
Yeah.
then nothing happened.
And
I
they
mean,
got railed ever
that's
since.
that's not the player to save your team. I do believe Refresh is like pretty smart and he knows how to win 1v5s and all that, but um, I just I don't know.
God.
You know, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's maybe the right fit, but I do believe he's a good player, and from what it seems like he's like pretty good with like working with his teammates and being like that glue guy. But I don't think he's that guy to save you. You know, he's not that guy. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I would say maybe George and Junior to come back potentially for like maybe Wiz and Breeze, or for Refresh, the George for Refresh maybe or something like that to just keep
Ooh,
the team more like NA. I guess that's up to EG if they want to go down that route. I don't know.
yeah.
But that could be like a decent shout to go for. Maybe. I don't know how big of the results will change, but at least you kind of have players that are still grinding to be the best of themselves, you know? So I don't know, maybe.
And then what do you make of the Fallen news? Because it's very interesting to me, the Fallen news. Not because I don't like I think my tweets about the move of where Furia are looking at him have been misconstrued as I hate him or I think that this is like he's a bad player. I think unfortunately he's not the player that he was 3 years ago. I also am very concerned about hiring a player that said in Antwerp, I'm going to stop playing at the end of next year. We have 6 months till the end of the year. Now, listen, if his
Yeah.
plans have changed and he's like, no, I'm fully sold in CS2, it's got the juices flowing, like I'm fucking ready. Sure, great, I'll buy it. But
Mm.
when you say and you start planning for a retirement date, I'm just very confused where it's like coming from. Like, what do you make of Furia trying to do this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's strange. I know I've talking to Gabriel. I mean, I think I was even talking to him in Rio. You know, he's telling me about like how he wants to retire for like the next year and all that. So it's a bit strange, but I don't know if Furia offering him changes his mind. Because I even said that they should make a change to get like Fallen and Fur like back in like 2018, 2019, like a long time
Right.
ago. 'Cause I feel like it maybe would have been the right time to do it because you know with a lot of the Brazilian talent is like not too much. There's obviously some that have kind of come into the ranks a little bit
Yeah.
nowadays, but I mean, obviously, I love Gabriel. I think like he's super smart, and I think like even as you can see in Washington, like his op, like it's still there. You know, it's like he can
Yeah.
still hit his shots. You know, he may obviously be way like past his prime and all that, but you know he's still good. Like he still can hit his shots. He can still call well. I just think maybe for the best interest of the team, of the future of the team, I would probably go for like another set of players. Like if anything, you know, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't know how many changes they're going to make, but if anything, I'd probably like have like Yuri and Quesarado and try to link them with like Big Uzera, Zevi, and Skulls. I think
Yeah.
like that would be like a cool way to
Insane.
go. Like,
God,
but
that's the one.
yeah, but yeah, I ultimately don't know how many changes they're making. I don't know who's coming and who's going. So, but I think if you
Plus
wanted to make a
Brazilian buyouts
change,
as well.
yeah. So I don't know what changes they're willing to make, but I think that would probably be like the best Brazilian team you could field with everything in terms of, you know, like just mechanics, age, prime,
Yeah.
everything. I'd probably go for that. But even if they went with a Fallen, and I don't know, I heard some stuff about Fur potentially being able to come back, and Fur was always like a player that's timeless. I mean, you guys are kind of shaking your head, but I think Fur is a
I
timeless player.
listen.
Fur
No matter
wanted
how
to.
much he could play, he was still performing. He was still performing, and he's just like that player that could play anything. But of course, I think it's just better to just get younger players and just move up, think of the future, and do that thing.
I don't even think it's necessarily in terms of age. It's terms of like the mentality. Like Fur had the interview, I think he said where he wanted to like quit like just before the RMR for the Rio Major. And it's like if you're that checked
Yeah.
out, and it's the same with Fallen. Fallen said, "I want to retire at the end of next year." And if you read the whole interview, he's talking about how he wants to spend more time with family. It's like say if
Yeah.
you guys went for Nitro again, if you said it to him, he very clearly has his mind on family or something.
Mm.
So it's clear that that's not going to be a long-term thing. And the second things go wrong, he's going to be looking towards his family and wanting to live his life outside of the game. So
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm a fur fanboy when I was playing, so I was being a little optimistic, but yeah, no, of course. I mean, I agree. It's just kind of like the lineup I said. I think would probably be the perfect one
Yeah.
with the three pain players for sure. But yeah,
I think you were right. In 2018, that would have been it. Like
yeah,
it would have been insane. I think unfortunately 5 years later, we look at the
yeah,
situation and I'm just like it I look at where teams need to be lining up for
yeah.
coming out of this break, right? And this might sound bad. I don't think, considering what Smooya and how reliable is Smooya really on Counter-Strike 2, but like if you're having Cologne and if you're having Pro League staying in Counter-Strike Global Offensive, what does it matter? Like what does any of that matter? You still have to adapt to the new game.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to mesh. It's gonna be a different system. The feel of it, the micro feel of it, which is how like when your chair's the wrong height or when something's wrong. It changes everything.
Yeah.
I just don't see how it totally matters right now. But for CS2 and the major that's in Copenhagen, that's where I'm like, this is what teams need to be focused on. And they need
Yeah.
to be planning for that. And that's going to take a longer amount of time and it's going to be much more intensive. And I just don't know if Fallen and like what happens 4 months in if there's no progress at all with Fallen and Fur.
Yeah.
And then you have 3 months until like the major. I think that's and I think they're a riskier asset to do rather
Mhm.
than younger players.
Yeah, I know, I agree. I mean, like I said, I do believe Fallen is still impactful in his own ways, and like he's very smart with the way he leads teams, and also just like his leadership outside the game is
Yeah.
phenomenal. I think it's probably one of the best I think I've played on, and that's something I miss playing with Gabriel 100%. But yeah, it's like you also just gotta think about the future, So it's just like you gotta think deep, You gotta think like 2, 3 years ahead as well. So that's just yeah, maybe not the best to go down that route, even though I don't believe the players are bad. It's just more about like make sure you get the right players that are here for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Liam, anything else that we need to talk about with these potential roster moves?
well, the potential ones, I don't think there's anything. I think
But the only other,
I
was
mean,
drop.
I think Fall into Pain is a really weird one for me. Like, unless you're like, because they were saying that they were interested in him, whether
Mhm.
that's a precautionary measure that they're very worried that they're going to lose a big Uzairs or something like that. They're
Mhm.
trying to think ahead, maybe, but I really can't understand that unless it's one of those crazy ones. Like, remember with IHC, they got rid of Score, and
Yeah.
everyone's like, "Oh, Score's going to a better team," and then he's just gone.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Gabriel is gonna like bat an eye at the pain thing at all because that would be just be too much work. At least like if you go to
yeah,
Furia, at least you already have Caserado, Yuri, and like all these players just like ready
Right.
to go.
that's a
Yeah.
win now team. Yeah.
Where it's like with pain, it's just like it's gonna be a whole new thing where Fallen won't even think about that 100%. If anything, he'll potentially think about Furia, but yeah, honestly, if I had to bet in the end, I don't think Fallen's gonna go to Furia. I think he'll retire. I think.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. And then Drop being cut from Furia, first move in the Americas. Some people are deriding it, saying, of course, they're going after the person that isn't actually the problem. Um, I kind of agree. I don't think that Drop was the problem. I don't. I think it's just unfortunately, as much as I love art, I
Mm,
think it is the IGL style. I think that's really it. I think that these players are great. I think that they're all good. I just I know them well. I'm just like the direction hasn't worked out for the last 5 years. You got to move on.
yeah. I mean, I've been saying this since 2018 as well. I always like told my team when I first played like Furia, it was like me 2018, 2019 when I played them like more. But I don't want to like put my head out or anything, obviously. But like I don't want to give Art too much shit. But like I think I always said like with that Art calling style, the way he's playing, that playstyle will maybe get you far in some tournaments. It won't give you really consistency really at all, but it might get you deeper into tournaments every once in a while.
Yeah.
But mainly with that playstyle, you're mainly there to kind of just like fuck teams' days up. You're not really there to really win the tournament. You're really there to just kind of catch them off guard because with that playstyle, there's like no consistency. And I'm just like, if you're just gonna continue playing like this, I don't really expect them to be like winning trophies or anything like that. And I always said to my team, I'm just like, I think like the day like they kind of change Art's mind about playing this style, or they just find a completely new IGL to begin with, that's when they'll start making progress on like actually like winning trophies. And then it's like 4 or 5 years later, they still haven't won a tier one trophy. So it was like I'm just like, yeah, I'm like, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I kind of expected it, I guess, but Like they have good players, they have insane players. You know, they have Quesarado, who's like one of the best players in the world, literally. Like
Yeah,
this year,
yeah.
he could literally be top 5. And it's just like with this playstyle,
Yeah.
it's just hard. It's hard to win trophies. You know, it's hard to be consistent. And like that's the thing about Counter Strike. You need to find things that are consistent because those ones will, lower the bridge for you to get that trophy. You know, so it's just. I mean, that's how I always thought about the Furia lineup.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's a pretty fair point. It's like it's a super exciting style to watch, but they kind of remind me of Ryan watches football. It's like Leeds United. They're super exciting to watch, but it's either going to be they score 3 goals and let in 7, or they win 5-0. It's like you don't know which version is going to show up because it's so inconsistent. It's so volatile. Like if it's
Yeah,
not going right for you, there's no backup plan to fall back on. So it's live and die by the sword. So maybe it's time to just drop the sword and move on to a different one.
yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about CS2. NAF, when's it coming out?
I don't know. The only thing I've heard is like rumors, like I've heard it from like multiple different people, is that like, and it kind of makes sense, but like I feel like it's gonna come later than when people expect. Like people are saying it's like supposed to come in like player break or like in July, but like they've only shown 2 maps, and 2 maps have
Yeah.
had so many extreme issues with them, and even with like a lot of other things like mechanics, like the shooting. Like I feel like I was playing the show match in Dallas, and the shooting in that game for like one tapping, it feels pretty crisp, and like bursting and all that, but spraying in that game feels like garbage. Like
Ooh.
Mm.
CS2 literally feels worse than CS:GO. But then again, I'm obviously gonna give it the benefit of the doubt. It's in like the beta version of their game, and they have a lot of people creating like new stuff. So like I don't know, IP and everything is just like different and all that, the coding and all that. But uh, the game with shooting is terrible in my opinion, especially
Oh
with
my
spraying.
god.
And I mean tapping feels nice and all that, but yeah, no. The rest of the game, like, it's hard to even see. It's so bright in the game already that, like, with my settings that I have with CS:GO and I have it in CS2, it's just like I can't see shit. And I was playing with
You
it in
gotta
the
you
in
gotta
the show
change it,
match.
man.
Yeah, no, it was just like I don't like how bright it is. Like I don't know, like I don't understand like why they think making it like that makes it look like a new game, but in my opinion, it looks even more like garbage. But I mean, uh, but yeah, I ultimately don't know. But what I'm saying is like there's so many problems with the game, and they only shown 2 maps. How are they supposed to release this? And they've only shown this with over like what, like 3 months? I don't
Yeah.
know, 3 months or
Yeah,
something
it
like
was
that.
like March when it
And
came out.
then and they've only shown 2 maps, and each
Mm.
maps are just riddled with problems and bugs and wall bangs and just all these issues. So it's just like if you're gonna do 5 more maps and you're gonna do it within the next month, then all right, sure. It's gonna be riddled with problems, I feel like, and people are gonna be pissed. So,
Yeah.
if anything, I think it'll come out later, maybe more towards the fall or something like that. But that's just me. I don't know.
That
Who
comes
knows?
out such a.
Maybe,
No,
yeah.
go on.
Maybe I was
Uh,
gonna say like maybe they're just gonna come out of nowhere and everybody's gonna be all hands on deck and they're just gonna fix everything in the next month. So
Oh
I
my
don't know.
god.
We'll see. But with what I'm seeing right now, it doesn't seem like it's gonna come out anytime soon. That's just my opinion. So we'll see.
if it comes out in fall, that makes it so difficult for teams as well because you want to put some focus onto that. But that's when Cologne is going to be. There's not obviously not going to be a second major later this year, but there's still going to be big events like fall finals, Cologne,
Yeah.
World finals.
Uh,
So
I don't know. There's so many problems. So like I don't know. They could just release the game and just say like, hey, it's out, and like teams will play on it. But I feel like there's gonna be so many problems if
Oh
it,
yeah.
in this state.
so you're not going to be playing over the player break, or are you going to stick to CS:GO? Or
I have no idea. Because I know probably actually I have no idea. Like I wish Valve would tell us. Like we're already halfway, already pretty much through the player break. It'd be kind of cool to be like, yo, the first event after the official player break will be CS2, but they're not saying shit. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I'll just wait until they say something. All right, play CS2. Okay, I'm loading up
Well,
CS2.
we have to even wait for the game to be fully released first, right?
Yeah, exactly. As well.
And
I
then
don't
we're gonna
know.
have to wait for all the production teams to migrate their assets over to learn how to
I just feel like
manipulate it.
I just feel like Valve just isn't that company to just release a game that's unfinished,
No.
like
No,
Mm.
no,
every other,
no.
like a lot of other companies and games and all that. I just yeah, with the Valve's, their prowess and all that, like their tier. I don't think they'll release games like this. So
No.
we'll see. We'll see.
Especially not a game that forcibly updates everyone, right?
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be weird. Um, but anyways, from what have you seen? Do you like the new buy menu? Do you like this? Like you have to
Uh,
pick a loadout and then you can refund items. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool. Some people might say it's like, oh, it's kind of going away from Counter Strike, but it's like they already did that with like the smokes being blown open, with the
yeah,
grenades and all that. So they're trying to. It's that time, I guess, where Valve and CS they're trying to become their own and not just follow the tradition of normal Counter Strike that has been like the same pretty much the past 20 years.
right.
So I mean, with the refund, it's cool. Buy menu's cool. Where you can kind of pick your loadout. People are gonna piss people off. They don't have the op in their loadout and shit. Like, why you don't have that? Like we're just trolling. Like, I'm not gonna put an op in my loadout, so someone else will have to drop the stuff. I ain't wasting my money on you. But yeah, no, I mean that's cool. I think yeah, but I don't know. The only thing, I mean, obviously everybody always says when new things come out, even for CS:GO and a lot of new games, new maps, they're always gonna be those. Everyone always says like, "Oh, it sucks. It's terrible. Just keep the same. Do the same." But that's just like people being stubborn and like ignorant,
Yeah.
I guess, about things. But and I've been through those so many times, so I'm more open. I'm super open about everything. I love new maps. I love seeing new things, but. I don't know. There's something about the way this game is designed with like the character models and the way the characters run and all that. It looks like they hired a bunch of Valorant people and said like, "Yo,
So
make this shit Counter-Strike, but
the
we have Valorant expertise." Like I don't know.
the artist that did the remap that remapped everything, she
Mm.
did come from Valorant. She worked with Riot Games, and she was like a major artist
Oh
in
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Valorant.
I mean,
So
I mean, it's not really like the map designs. I think the
okay,
designs are cool, but I think just like with the way the characters run,
okay,
and the other thing, like I said, was like the brightness and the visuals. But even though if like the map looks cooler, obviously designed more better, that's fine. But it's more about like the way the characters run, the characters shoot, and all that. It's
yeah,
just like it's not there yet. For me, it's just not there yet. I don't enjoy it. It doesn't feel as rewarding as it does in CS:GO when you hit like crazy clutches or one taps or
right.
and all
Mm.
that. It just doesn't feel as good. It just feels broken. But then again, the game's in a beta, so I'm not gonna just roast it into oblivion. So we just have to just wait and see, I guess. But those are like the things I'm not too big of a fan about. But yeah.
All right.
I think the big one for me that I think will change is that the ability to refund. Like, I don't know how much Valorant either of you have played, but with the refund on Valorant, it stops when freeze time's over. So then you're out of the
Yeah.
round.
I mean,
But
that's true.
we saw the clip, like the one that I had to do for Dust 2. It's like you can buy an op and a decoy, throw the decoy, and then
Yeah.
refund the op. So like you could be messing with the mind of economy. And I guess that kind of it goes back to the question with when we could drop grenades and stuff. You'd be like, oh, there's 5 people stacked over here, but one person just flinging all the flashes.
Mm-hmm.
So how game breaking is maybe remains to be seen, but I feel like that's the big one that will
Yeah.
probably change next.
Yeah,
So.
I think they'll be fixed for sure. I think they'll notice that after a bunch of people playing, and then they'll fix it.
Yeah. If I had CS2, I would love to be able to tell you how it
Crazy.
feels. But
Oh, you don't even have the game. What the
I know.
fuck?
I do have to. I've actually been late on emailing. I might actually have to email Valve and be like, "Hi guys, I need this for research purposes and like to write about your game." I know a few other people got it just because they're like, "Guys, seriously, we need to talk about and write about this game."
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a lot that we just covered in the last hour and 15. I don't have too much else. I think we
Yeah.
covered a lot. Nav,
Yeah.
how you feeling about any fun plans that you're doing this summer?
I don't know, man. I'm just
Beach, pool,
beach. I'm not going to no
mini
beaches here.
vacation
Pool.
somewhere.
Nah, like I said, I'm focused on my house, like, cause my house actually like it's not built. So right now they're in the process of building it, and
Oh,
I have to like this week I'm picking out like cabinetry, handles, flooring, tile, like like wall, like everything, like
dude, I'm
so.
3 years older than you, but like you're 20 years older than me.
Yeah,
Like,
grown
what
up
the hell?
business,
Yeah.
honestly.
So like I
What
gotta
the
just
hell?
like just stick around, do my thing, and just help. I just need to design my house pretty much. That's all I'm
All
doing.
right,
But yeah.
can't wait to ask you about it in Cologne. That'll be
All right,
great.
yeah. I mean, if you're in BC, man, come through.
We'll see. All right, Liam, you got anything else to wrap it up?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I think we touched on everything that we've missed in the last month, so hopefully it's not as long next time before the next podcast.
Yeah, it'll
Well,
be good. No, we'll try and do one next week. We'll just hope that this will be the CS2 player break podcast. Is essentially what this is going to be. It's going to be phenomenal. I love it.
I think I'll be in a new setup in 2 weeks, so we'll have a new background where my Darius board won't be making me look like I have cat ears. So that's great.
That's good.
Nice.
That's always good. That and the pool table. I did enjoy
Oh,
the
damn,
weeks
I
of the
didn't
pool table stuff.
I didn't see the
being
pool table
piled
back
up.
there. Nice.
Oh, no, it's
pool
phenomenal.
It's hella messy as well because
Damn.
this
Oh,
is
there
like
it
the
is, yeah.
utility room. Yeah,
I love
There
it.
it
It's
is.
just like every week, I'm always so curious as like what is on Liam's pool table this week.
Yeah.
I feel like
Oh,
that needs
yeah.
to be a new segment. I'm sad. I'm sad
What's
I didn't
on-
think of this segment earlier, but it would have been a great segment. What is on Liam's pool table this week? Is your hold on?
PlayStation 2 poker game.
Damn, dude, you got At least we got some valuables in there. Damn, dude.
That
PS2
is
games.
insane.
Yeah,
Keith, did you have? Hold on. Is your bed at least made behind you?
oh yeah, my bed's made. Don't worry.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at that.
Yeah.
Class act.
Yeah.
Immaculate.
I can't wait to get out of this super small room. Been living in this room for too long. I'm gonna have my own big master room, my own office, and everything. I'm gonna feel like $1 million.
Oh my god. Is that the price of the house? I'm kidding.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess for everything, yeah, Liam, Ryan, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah,
yeah,
a
it's
lot
amazing.
of fun. A lot of fun.
Thanks, man. Make sure to get your teammates on here. All right.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
I
of
can't
course,
get
yeah.
Nitro anymore. Nitro's been released from his obligations to do it, so he escapes.
Oh.
He
Yeah.
escapes my clutches.
I texted him when he left Liquid, and he's like, "Oh, thanks, man." And then like a week later, I was like, "I'll chance my arm here," and just no response. So
Oh, man. Yeah, well, I mean, he's got kids to look after, and like
Yeah, exactly.
six dogs or something, like 6,000 dogs or something like that. So
That's just
Yeah.
I can't handle
Yeah.
that one. All right.
right, thank you guys. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Yeah.
was
All right.
great,
Well,
yeah.
guys,
Thanks
that's
so
going to
much.
wrap up this week's episode. Thank you for all coming back after a month away. We will be back next week, hopefully with some more content. But until then, make sure you check out Dusty.us for all of your other North American content needs. As next week is the Blast roster lock, so we know for certain some new rosters will be there. Hopefully, we can
See you
report
there,
on
Ryan. I'll
Liquids.
see you
Yeah,
there,
I'll
man.
see you fucking there. All right, guys. See you later. Thanks so much.
See you guys.